Hello, good people. Welcome to our show. Hello, bad people. Welcome to our show. Hello, anyone who want to learn more about technical content. Welcome. Today we're going to discuss a lot more about that because content is king. If you can't create quality, you can't win customers, you can't get results, you can't get anything. I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Branko Kral. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you very much for this intro. I also really like the video intro. That was legit. That makes me look like I've been places.
Yeah, let me confess. Um, I didn't create this promo. I have an amazing team. I usually tell them, please create intro for my podcast, concise and creative. Not because most people come to this podcast to learn. They want to get the basic, but we need to have some small, short, interesting intro, and it's cool to have great people in your team because I don't need to spend so much time to explain what I need to get. Basically, these people can read my mind to understand what they want to get, and it works well. Branko, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and anything that can help our listeners to learn more about you.
Yeah. So my name is Branko. I come from Slovakia. I live in California now a part of the year. Used to be full time for several years. Now I split time between Slovakia and California, mountain towns. Recently this year, I sold off my content agency, or at least most of it. I still own the domain and a little bit of the website, which I'm hoping to now bundle into this position that I should be getting hired for very soon, where they would buy the domain and we would use it as a part of what I'll be working on for them. Um, I also have a background in more of the technical aspects of SEO. I work a lot with content. I'm a linguist, and to me, marketing is doing language at scale. And I love geeking out on content. I get a lot of my state of flow there, but I also love geeking out on the technical aspects of SEO and SEO strategy and structure and analytics. Analytics has always been the differentiator on um, of the services that I've provided or that my teams have provided. Um, what else would I tell you? I also have done quite a lot of different community work with co-working spaces, first responding, and such.
Nice, awesome, amazing, amazing experience. Branko, can you tell about your services more? Today we have million marketers, SEO specialists, agencies, freelancers, and all of them can provide such services. Can you tell why you are different? What are the main benefits you can have and can help better to your customers than a million other agencies?
Yeah. Well, um, I think that's not too hard because there's so many crappy agencies out there. Uh, right? There's a lot of good ones, and after like 2 weeks of working with an agency, you'll know which is which. Um, but I think my biggest strength as a person in marketing is how I understand language. I'm fluent in four languages and I'm conversational in four or five more. It's and so I've spent a lot of my life thinking about how to say something from when I was very little to people who um, to people whose language I didn't speak perfectly, but I still needed to convey something. I've also spent a lot of my life trying to understand things when I didn't know the language perfectly. And I've spent a lot of my life working with teams and building teams, running teams with international people. That's one of my strengths in how I run things. I always wanted to be remote, part because I didn't want to be hiring people locally, or not like I'm against it, but I don't want to be limited to a local market, even if you're in the Bay Area. I'm geographically close to the Bay Area right now, or if I'm in the greater LA area, or in New York, what have you, whatever. I don't care. You're going to be limited. Um, if I can hire globally, I can look for the best person, and I don't care so much about where they work. Um, and in working with people from so many different backgrounds, you have to make it super, super clear what you want. So a lot of the feedback I get from people who work for me is that I do that well. So as I'm bragging here, I would mention that as a strength. Um, Knowing how to make it very clear to people with different backgrounds what's important and what assets they can use and everything that they need to be enabled, and the common goal, and how do we measure success and such, what
Nice.
standards are expected. So that too is like a language skill, really, right? And it blends with people skills, but then language is a people skill. So it doesn't sound very technical. And when you do add technical parts to it, like actually doing custom reporting for you specifically, so there's nothing you don't need, and you don't need to deal with the GA4 mess. You don't need to build everything from scratch and amplitude. You can just go to our Looker Studio report, and every chart is going to be 100% relevant to you. uh, and we're gonna give you, or I'm gonna write down manual notes on what I'm highlighting about what I see, why I think it's happening, and what I want to do about it, and then what do I expect from that action. So that helps a lot as well. So that's been my combination there. And I think we'll get more into the content and more details about content. And I find that it's super, super important to stand out with content, and I'm sure whoever is listening is not hearing this for the first time. So we'll get more into that today, I believe.
Yeah, nice, awesome, love it. Full languages, man. Yeah, I have a dream to learn Spanish, and yeah, it will be my the full language. But
Of course.
yeah, number four. But I still have so many things to do in three languages that I know,
What are your three
especially
then?
in English.
Uh, what are your three?
Russian, Ukrainian, and yeah, English. I keep learning English, and I stopped. It's interesting. When I promoted my Ukrainian agency, we got great results in Ukrainian market. We got like the number 7 position in the Russian market, number 15. Of course, we quit Russian market today because of this war, because of the situation. But anyway, when I started to extend globally to English speaking countries. I got it. I don't want to be mediocre on this field. So that is why if I started to, if I choose to learn Spanish, then I can neglect my English skills. That is why right now I pay attention to improve
Oh yeah,
what I have. Yeah. So
yeah, yeah.
and mhm. Yeah, go ahead. Wanna say something?
Yeah, I think English is so useful that it's one of those skills, kind of like math and driving, where
Hmm.
it improves your life a lot if you're great at it instead of just good, which you are great at it. And I think if you get better, make sure to keep your accent, because I find that a lot of people in the US think it's cool. and 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 I think as long as you enunciate clearly and you can convey complex thoughts, um, and you can find a variety of words for one thing, you will be great. I think you could only maybe just get a little better than you're now. Have you lived in an English speaking country?
Right now I'm in Florida, so
There we
I
go.
live here.
There we go. But there's also maybe why you want to learn Spanish, because there's so much Spanish in Florida.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know. But I like to have time to rest my time in Dominican Republic, in
Mm.
Spain. So I love Spanish countries. I like this culture. That is why I have this dream to start learning Spanish. But right now I understand so many things to do in English language, so that is why I can neglect Spanish. We'll see in the future if I find this time. But right now, many priorities what I can complete
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
You also have different goals there, right? And this reminds me of different goals in marketing mixes and channel mixes, marketing strategies, where you decide what you want to be great at and where you want to go deep. And then you can still do other things as long as those are okay to be done in a smaller way. So, like if you have a specific goal for that, you want to be able to have a very simple conversation and get by on the street with Spanish, and maybe have enough Spanish skills to where if you mix Spanish and English, you can get by in the Dominican Republic. Um, then that's enough, and it doesn't have to be this stressful goal. Whereas for English, you want to go deeper and deeper, right? And I find that again in content, this works really well as well, especially if you're starting something new and you're just experimenting. Um, you don't always have to go super deep into everything because you do need to triage your resources.
Yeah, nice, nice, valuable. Okay, Branko, let's talk about creating content. In 2008, I started my digital journey, and at that time, I hired jack of all trades. Basically, I hired people who could write content, submit content, promote content. Um, that was simple because competition was low. It's not because we could game the system. We, of course, we gamed Google. Google was not smart as we have today, and we created a lot of content for search engines. I bought more backlinks that my competitors had. But things change a lot many times. I think I switched all my attention in 2012 when the first Penguin was released, Google filter, and then I pay only attention to white hat SEO to create content for human being, and I know it's hard. It's not like many years ago when you can have one specialist who can do everything. Today I have specialists who can find topics, specialists who writers who can write, editors who can edit, who can submit, content managers, design, development, promotion. And you mentioned you are good with building teams. Can you tell your methods? How to hire the right people? It's not simple, but you work globally, so you can find people everywhere. I like the strategy because I cooperate and hire people at many countries, including US, Ukraine, India. I, I don't care about the country as well because I know if I care about your skills, knowledge, what you can bring to the table. So tell your methods how to build the right team. You mentioned who can create great content.
Hmm. Oh yeah, it's a big question. There's a lot to say. Let me think about what to focus on in this answer. I'll recap the first principle that if you have a global market and you can just pick the best person for the job, that is great. One other thing that I've learned is it's kind of harsh and it's very, very American, and that's that you don't want to keep a person for too long if they're not working out, because it's even just better for them to move on and do something where they're going to thrive if they're not thriving in that position. Now, at the same time, I've had people who were great, they were great humans, honest, and they were fast and they were thorough. For me, being thorough and having focus on detail is one of the most important things on my teams. And so I've had someone who was supposed to work as an editor and it wasn't working great. So then we made him into a content manager because he was super organized and structured. He had a lot of connections in the industry. He's seen content production in a lot of companies, especially agencies. And he just wasn't working out with editing. Like the way he was working with language just wasn't what I needed. But I felt like I should keep him around because he was great at a lot of things. So we changed the position for him, and I've actually heard of that done very successfully by other agencies as well, where you don't try and force a position, you manage it more around the person. Once you know you want that person, you can be flexible and find them a new place on the team. Um, I also find that a lot of agencies work with freelancers, and so one other concept I have is that you want to try and make everybody as busy as possible. And I don't mean to make him work overtime, but more like instead of giving a lot of people a little bit to do, focusing on fewer people that have more to do. So smaller teams, but more engagement is always better. And maybe it'll curb your resources at first, but really those people are then going to be super engaged. I also think that one super, super important thing is making it very clear to anyone, no matter what their first language is, what they need to do. You need to write, not like for, when you read American how to's for writing, they often tell you need to write for the third grader or something, or eighth grader. I don't believe in that, but I believe in that there has to be zero ambiguity in what you write, and it has to be something that everybody with any language background will understand the same way. Anybody in any mood that day, any position, seniority will understand those words the same way, so that there will be no more discussion. That's a big, huge part of how we're efficient. Now, also, if you're working global like this, you're working across a lot of different time zones. On my Slack, on the project that I was just working on before I logged into this, I have people in 6 time zones. And so it's very important to work async. Of course, you can have regular meetings. I think everybody knows how to do that. But I'm a heavy Loom user for asynchronously made videos, and Trello user. So our routine is that Trello is the source of truth. I also love Trello because there's less to click on. I don't like Asana or ClickUp very much, and I think they're great, but Trello is simpler, and you can still make it robust with add-ons if you want, um, and some custom ways to use it. But Trello is our project management and the source of truth that's really easy for everyone to pick up. I can train someone on how we use Trello in 10 minutes, and I tend to keep it that way because that's super important. There's no mistakes done there. Slack is for real-time communication, and then Google Drive and Google Docs are for collaboration, and Loom is for explainers that replace meetings. And now
Mhm.
Loom has an AI suite that gives you summaries and recaps and auto-generated headlines, and it's even quicker to use. And you can trim videos real quick. Like I really like where the company's going. And a friend of mine's working there, and she just loves working there too. But so mainly, uh, I get a lot of feedback from my team members on how the looms help them with what they need, because you can be really good at writing, and writing for your team is a good way to practice writing, especially in that international context. But I find that loom is what you need many times, because you need to share the screen, and you need to actually speak to it a little bit the way you would. But then I don't actually always need to get their response. Therefore, I don't need a meeting. Like, I don't actually always need input from the team member at that moment. I just need them to know certain things that the client told me, or like if it's for my own website, which is neglected right now, but about to get better. Uh, it's just that I need to tell someone, and then their response should be their work, and that all can be done async, right?
Mhm.
Um, so those have been some principles, and I could speak to hiring content writers. I have a way for that I found to work well. Do you want me to share about that?
Yeah. I want to ask about writing because for me, writing is the most important element of website content. And without great writing, you can't get results. For example, if we check Wikipedia or Investopedia, these websites neglect nice looking design, but they have great writing to get this crazy traffic. And I have a few projects to compete with Investopedia as well. And we pay more attention to quality of the writing than nice looking design. And I want to ask about that because I changed my strategy a lot on this field because of this EEAT, expertise, experience, authority, trust parameter that Google launched. And at that time, I remember we promoted weight loss supplements, many big websites, and competed with billion-dollar brands, big companies. Because if you check in the top 10 results, any keyword with weight loss, you can find big brands like Shakeology, big companies, because this niche is overwhelmed and overpriced. And we changed our strategy, our writing, because before this algorithm, I cooperated with great writers. Today, I cooperate with great experts who know the topic. For example, if you ask me to write anything about weight loss, I can't. I can't create great content. Yes, I lost 25 pounds in my life, but it's my personal experience. I can't teach others how to do it. By the way, the best way to drink water, guys, not pills, not shakes. And um, but if you ask me to write content about SEO, content marketing, digital marketing. I can because I work on this niche, and I prefer to cooperate with experts. Can you tell how to find great writers? I mean, like who knows the topic because of EEAT, and I think it's not only because of Google. Users, customers need it. Customers need more content from doctors who have extended experience, like plus 15 years, than from writers who just found content and wrote how to treat you. It's stupid. So, any tips about finding these writers?
Yeah, yeah, I think I have a lot of those. Um, so the first one is that you have to accept that it's not easy to find them, and it's not easy for someone to build the skill set to be a great writer with a subject matter expertise as well. And um, I've worked with dozens, like maybe 40, 50, 60 writers, and
Oof.
uh,
How to
and
manage them? It's a lot.
not
You
at,
manage.
not at the same time for me. Not at the same time. At the time, the biggest that it got for me was maybe 7 writers at a time. Um,
Okay.
but so I wanted to say that out of the several dozen that I've worked with, I would probably only continue working with 5 to 10. Uh, I think about a grading scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is amazing, and nobody really is at 10. Me neither. Um, but I only want to work with writers who are 8 or 9, and so they need to be very good with language. They need to understand how to write for marketing and for SEO, and they need a subject area expertise. Now, they don't need to be an expert in it right away. They can also just be really good at figuring it out. So, for instance, we have worked with a doctor from the Philippines who is an emergency room doctor, and she loves writing, and she used to live in the States. She's done her residency in Louisiana. And so she's also just a pleasure to work with, which is another huge, important thing. She's on time and super reliable and loves cooperating with our designer who helps her with custom visuals and such. Um, and she started working for us, writing for this dermatology blog. She's not a dermatologist, but she's a doctor and she has an interest in dermatology and she can look it up. So that part, the interest, it helps the person with being able to figure out the topic. And so now we have these expert articles on dermatology that come from a doctor, and you can tell they come from a doctor, but they don't come from a dermatologist, and that's more than okay. Recently, though, she started writing for us for a construction company because her family is a construction company family. And so she has access to first-hand information about how construction is done, and then she can figure out the rest. So that's really, really important. I think also you don't want to expect too much. And I'll use an analogy, and I don't mean the quality shouldn't be high. I mean, you shouldn't put everything on the content writer. You should also know the difference between the copywriter and the content writer. The content writer is more the content creator for experts, like the educational content. Um, and my analogy is that when you go to the doctor today, we're taught to have unhealthy expectations of them. We're taught to kind of delegate our health to the doctor, and they're responsible for our health, even though they can only do so much, right? They can give you a very good, qualified opinion and guidance, but really, if you want to be in good health, you have to do 90% of the work. They help you a
Of
little bit.
course. A hundred
Uh,
percent. Yeah.
you cannot delegate health, but people do delegate health, and then they're disappointed, and then they sue the doctor or they keep going to doctors without results because so the same thing for content writers. I build a strong support network around them, so I do expect them to have an area of expertise. My biggest topics are actually marketing technology and analytics technology, um, and other B2B SaaS. A lot of martech and analytics tech. uh, Martech and health, I guess, are the two biggest. So for analytics, for instance, I need writers who understand it. And the best ones are the ones that match the Google algorithm completely by having their own experience. Experience is a part of the algorithm. So I want writers who have their own experience. So for instance, for analytics topics, I want writers who have built up their own website. I want writers who have tried optimizing for conversions. I want writers who have taken the time to figure out UTM parameters. Like I want writers who have done marketing, technical marketing. And there are some of those, and a lot of technical marketers, including me, love writing. So you can find them. It's hard, and they're going to be expensive, but they're going to be way worth the money. So once I find a person like that, I still actually set up a routine around collecting input from the subject matter expertise. If this is an agency setting, I ask straight up front before we start, before we sign, I ask for access to experts on their team. And one of the best marketing, technical marketing blogs that I've ever built is for an analytics implementation company, an analytics consulting company that has several experts who are willing to write. And so we either get internal documentation from them, maybe something they've used for training. It could be a write up, it could be a video, or we have the writer prepare, do some research, and then we book a 30-minute interview with the subject matter expert. Once the writer is familiar, once we've done the keyword research and all that good stuff, we still interview the expert. And the draft, even the outline really doesn't start until we have interviewed the expert and until I'm sure that we have collected expert information. And again, the writer needs to be good enough to make great use of that expert information. Then a part of the support network for the content writer will also be what I mentioned, the designer, because you want to have custom visuals. Maybe you want to have video. Maybe you want to have an explainer image. I'm not so much into infographics, but you can make one image regular size and make it into a diagram or put legend on it to explain things. Uh, you can make screenshots, but then you want to take it a step further and you want to caption the screenshots too, right? Or you want to be very, very intentional about, okay, if you're explaining a certain flow for how you implement different marketing technology tools, or I don't know, revenue operations tools, you can walk him step by step like it's documentation, and then you can stand out and do it better than the billion dollar companies would do, because you're actually writing on first-hand experience, and you can add an opinion. You can write about your own methodology. What I'm always trying to get to is something that AI couldn't write, uh, and something that's not published yet. I don't want to write another article about the best alternatives to Google Analytics 4 unless I know something that other people don't know, and I have the ability to share firsthand experience that hasn't been shared yet. Um, so,
Yeah, love it. I agree with that.
and then
No,
the editor, and
100%.
then the editor and the content manager. Like there has to be a person who is managing the whole content flow of the whole project and the whole website, and it's not the writer. So the writer can just focus on the individual piece of content. And then there's the editor, so that the writer has help from someone that they get along with, who knows language and who knows writing, who doesn't need to get super deep into the topic, who can look at it more from the eyes of the reader. It's just like when the reader comes to the article and reads it, they haven't done a ton of research on it. They're just reading this one article, and the editor comes with the same perspective. And this is super useful to the writer to have someone who hasn't spent that same amount of time, who is not as deep in the weeds, who has a more objective look, and that helps a lot. And then you can, of course, use tools and AI to speed up a lot of everything I mentioned.
Nice. Valuable. Valuable. Love it. Branko, you mentioned 2 times about AI. I want to ask more about this tool,
Yeah.
because the last time I speak with ChatGPT more often than with my wife. I ask a lot of questions. I like this tool. And, sometimes this tool, yeah, of course, I use more professionally, like to create content, to edit content, and I edit a lot on ChatGPT. And personally, I disagree with someone when people can say that AI is not replacing human beings. AI is replacing, it's true, if you don't adapt, if you have time to complain that AI will replace you. Because in my company, we replaced some people with AI. And when I see LinkedIn posts from marketing experts who can tell why people are firing because of AI, because AI can provide a better job. I will never fire people if I have options to pay less and get faster, much better job. Yeah, only because of that. And we edit content on ChatGPT. I got mentions on CNN, Business Insider because of editing on ChatGPT. Why I need to have editors who can't do the same job that AI did? So I think nothing is wrong with that if you fire people because of AI, and these people can adapt to think what they can change because it's technology, it's everywhere. You need to think how you can use this tool to win. And because most experts are excited about AI, if I speak with experts, they think how to adapt this technology to how to increase productivity by using AI. So if you are rejected because of AI, so it's time to learn about AI how and think how you can improve your productivity. And Branko, I want to ask about using AI in content creation. You mentioned two times about AI, and many content creators complain that AI can't create something new. Yeah, of course, AI can't because it's the best rewriting tool. Rewriting, not writing, and but we still use it. Can you tell your methods how to use AI? So you have content creators, writers, experts who can help you to create this content, but you use AI as well. So can you tell how to find this balance between manual job, between AI to get the great to get great results?
Yeah, yeah. Can I ask you a question back too? Because you made me interested. Uh, it sounds like editors would be some of the like, people you fired because of AI.
Yeah,
Was
I can
working for
explain
them.
why.
What other
Because
positions? What other positions? Like which
and
job did you
and
replace?
translators because we translate a lot of content for our clients in trading investing niche, but when you pay money to translators, it's really hard to check the results of this job. It's really hard because I don't speak these languages. I have no idea how to check Japanese language, but I can check results. And when we got traffic after editing with AI from Japanese audience, we got it. It works. It works. So basically, we use simple prompt. Please translate to Japan language. I mean Japanese language by considering the culture of people in Japan. So very simple, nothing special. Just to consider people that they
Mhm.
have different mentality, and it works. AI can translate, and how we usually check, for example, if we translate to plus 30 languages, we can translate to Russian and Ukrainian language because I'm fluent on this. I can check if I can correct results. That means AI can translate to other languages as well. And yeah, we got real great results. We got great results with after editing with ChatGPT. When CNN mention your press release, it means it's quality job. CNN have great editors. If Business Insider can submit mention about your press release, it's quality. It's because of ChatGPT. So I advise editors and translators, just think how to become from experts by using an AI. Because great writers can beat in one side my ass by using ChatGPT because they know how to analyze results. So writers can write much better with AI because they know how to analyze what you get. I see when content creators submit prompts like how to play guitar, how to lose weight, it doesn't work. You can find much better results on Google. So but if you know what quality means, then you can use AI. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
5 cents.
yeah. I like how someone said that it's not AI that's gonna take your job. It's gonna be the person who uses AI, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
That is my approach. Like, one of the mentions that I made of AI in this conversation was uh, creating content that AI couldn't write, and so I think that's what continues to stand out. And I also think that's what always worked really well, even before we could think about AI in this way. Um, and that just means content based on your first-hand experience that nobody else has, plus opinion. So you focus on what AI wouldn't do. AI so far doesn't create knowledge. Um, mm, Knowledge is created by experience, right? And then describing the experience and passing on the experience. That's knowledge to me. You can also think about measuring stuff and such, and that's not fully experience, but I prefer focusing on experience. So that's kind of how to beat AI, I guess. Now, how to use it, I like to think about it as how can we use it for scale. One of the best examples I've seen is something that I'm working on now is training AI on your brand guidelines so that they can edit for those, for how you capitalize letters, for how you use apostrophes or not, for the Oxford comma or not, for the length of sentences, for the tone, the the tedious stuff really, where it's also kind of a creative work. And if I wanted a person on it, it would have to be a great writer. And I can do really well at turning a piece of writing into something that's consistent with the rest of the blog. So there's one really good example. I also really like all the tools that integrate AI automatically, like Loom, for instance, where I get auto summaries and they work really well. ClickUp does the same now. Um, so that's another one, and it actually work pretty well. Um, what I have bad experience using AI for is something that I thought it would be better at, like writing meta titles and descriptions, because it makes them sound like everybody else's. And by the time I give it enough prompting to make him sound like I want, I could just write it myself. Like it's kind of too short for how much time I put into the prompting. Maybe I just need to get better at prompting or training it. Then of course all the plugins that you can get for AI. Like if I can actually give the AI a PDF, uh, then that's amazing. And then I also really like it for shortening things, where the text already exists and the thoughts already exist, and the experience is already shared. And I just tell it, "Can you please make this shorter?" And it does great. I also like it for ideas and getting unstuck. So I was applying to some senior leadership positions over the last few months, and I get really annoyed when they ask for a cover letter because at that point, unless I have a connection, I don't even know if they're going to look at it. And if I have a connection in that company, they don't need a cover letter. So I think it's just super, like it's just ridiculous for anyone to ask for a cover letter for anything, until maybe like a third round of an interview, maybe. And then
Yeah.
at that point, you could do an audition. You could have him fulfill a task instead of something generic. But anyway, I needed to write a cover letter, and I had AI do it, and it did really well. And then I just edited it. So my overarching approach is to still have a person on it, because AI for now doesn't have common sense. It's kind of like the weird kid, and it makes up stuff more than we would like to think. So I actually expect my people now to use AI in writing and content creation, and the same thing for images, to speed it up and to make it more consistent. But I want that person on it. Like so for translation, I actually took some time comparing Google Translate to ChatGPT, and I thought ChatGPT would be a lot better, and it wasn't. It was better at certain things, but not always better. And so if I use that for translation, I do want to have a person go through it and check it.
Nice.
Um, I also find that um, AI is still prone to giving the most generic responses. Like it has to not say anything wrong, and sometimes like it with Bard, it's super lengthy, and uh, and so yeah, the combination of human and AI is what I'm trying to leverage the most. I've also seen it used a lot for research and keyword ideas, and especially if you get into the API, which I haven't done. I don't have the skills for that now. I need to use help. Um, that gets really good. Um, but again, combination of human and AI, I think, is where the success is at right now, at least for
Yeah.
me.
Nice. I like how you share. If you can't create something special, you can ignore it. I mean, like to write titles and descriptions, headlines. Yeah, I agree. Most people can use AI today to write titles, descriptions, meta tags, and by using AI, because you can ask, just write it, and it's simple to get results and think. But I like it that you mentioned if you feel it's generic, you can ignore it and write yourself. Cool. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, awesome, awesome. Because in
Also,
marketing,
if I can share one more thing, sorry to interject. I think it's even more important to understand language now that we have AI.
Mhm.
Kind of like if you are an engineer, you work with tools and you really need to understand the tools and the technology behind them to use them really well. And here we're working with AI as this robust tool, language model, whatever we call that. And I think understanding language is getting even more valuable. Like being great at language has become even more valuable now that we have large language models. And I also find that for all of us working with LLMs like ChatGPT and Bard and the new ones coming up, I think it's really important to understand the first principles of how they work, like how they actually add the next word. I've taken some time reading into that, and it's super interesting. I don't read much about like I don't know the articles that sound like they're going to be out of date in a month when AI gets better. Um, like, what do marketers use AI for this week? Like, I've read a lot of that. I have enough. I feel I just get enough inspiration from the community, the people I work with. But I've taken some time, set aside some dedicated time to learning the first principles. iPull Rank, for instance, iPull Rank has really good content on that, and I find that it's super important to understand language and how language is used in AI today.
Nice. Yeah,
Thanks
awesome,
for
awesome.
letting me interject.
Yeah, valuable. Um, Branko, I wanna ask about the future. You know, for example, I think when I started my digital journey, I ignored content marketing because Google was not smart enough and ranked e-commerce content with keywords that have info intent. But today, of course, yeah, we spend so much time to craft and write this blog posts, and most traffic are coming to blog posts. We use like sales funnel to get customers, to lead them in the sales funnel. But what we can see right now, I mean, like this tendency when Google decreases the number of clicks because of feature snippets, because of paid marketing, because of many other elements that you can find in the top 10 results. ChatGPT can reply to some questions to steal content from content creators. So when we complain about Google that still put the link to your website by sharing your content, ChatGPT doesn't link to your content just to steal content from content creators. We can complain a lot more. It's technology we need to consider to go ahead. We have chatbots, Bart, Bing Chat. Google is going to launch search generative experience. And I'm not sure about the future of content marketing because this chats AI can steal our content, repurpose, and this machine can be much smarter time to time. If today it's hard to create something special, in the future I don't know because it's only the beginning of this journey. And can you tell how to adapt today? In marketing, it's important to adapt whatever future will bring, whatever technologies will bring. We need to adapt to go ahead. We can use AI, we can use different methods, but we need to adapt. So tell what you are going to do to adapt if we have less clicks, and how to get this traffic and sales done.
hmm I've been focused on some of the things that I've been working already and just putting more focus into them. So, for instance, I think the EEAT still works and is going to continue to work because it's based on things that AI cannot do. I think Google had great foresight in that, you know, experience, your own experience, writing about that, and authoritativeness, um, and how much people trust you. You know, AI can have expertise more than anyone, but it doesn't have its own experience for now. Um, so that really works. And then there's some contradictions there because AI has led to more content being produced, but then the models that train AI need human created content. So I find that human created content is going to be important, even just because AI actually needs it, at least for now, for the foreseeable future. And I also think that we should be even more picky about what we publish. Like we had a client last year when I still ran the agency that I sold off. They were also an analytics software, and they had us create a lot of Me Too content. Like, what is the difference between ETL, ETL and reverse ETL? You know, if you look that up, there's 12 great articles about it. You don't need another one unless you describe a specific use case for it or methodology and such. So there needs to be a lot less Me Too content, and I don't think the return on investment on Me Too content is gonna be there. I don't really think it's high today anyway, and I think it's gonna get even smaller. Um, and I think quantity is going to be less important than quality, even more so than now. And then you can think about the distribution channels. There's a lot of talk about how the traditional SEO might not be the same. And I mean, I hope it isn't, right? Like when SEO went from optimizing for keywords to optimizing for topics, things got a lot better for everyone. And and I think that that's just a trend that's going to continue, and I think SEOs may need to have a broader scope of distribution. You know, Reddit has been working great, and now there might be some changes soon, but hopefully not, and hopefully it keeps doing great because it's community based, right? Again, it's something that AI couldn't easily replace. Then you can think about distribution on other niche platforms, and also the channels that you own, like email, which is another thing that has been working for a long time. But again, you don't just write emails that send out links. You write emails that have value in themselves, even if the person doesn't click from an email to something else, where the email itself is super valuable to open and read. Um, so I guess to recap, I think there's a shift in how we distribute and the minimum standards for quality and originality. Um, and I would also say consistency because now we have AI as a tool that can improve consistency, for instance. Um, I also see, and this is comparing today to beginning of the year, that people are realizing that they want to be talking to people. And yeah, we have ChatGPT, and high school kids can go to ChatGPT and have their assignments created by ChatGPT. But the same kids, the high school kids, um, go to TikTok to find answers because they want a real person with a real face giving them the answers. And that's
Yeah.
as far from using AI to give you answers as possible. Like people actually want to see where the information is coming from. And many times that means they want to go to the blog with the experts with names. Other times that means they want to have a TikTok influencer tell them which bar is popping tonight. Um, but I think there's something very deep about human nature uh, where it's clear that humans like to deal with humans, and I feel like human connection is getting even more important, and there might be something in the algorithms in the future that evaluates the connection that you're making. It's
Mhm.
something like a combination of trust, engagement, and intimacy, if I may. I don't know yet. Um, but seeing how much more valuable human connection is getting, and I don't know, spending time in nature, um, I think we, being in this community of heavy AI users, might actually give a bit too much importance to what it's going to change. And people who are not working in jobs that use AI, who are not interested in AI, don't care about AI, don't know much about AI, their lives, like the lives of 90% of people, have not changed much with AI. They changed a little bit indirectly because they use, I don't know, Facebook, and algorithms are based on AI and whatnot. But I think for a long time, the lives of most people are not going to change that much, or at least not this year or next. And then I don't know what's going to happen next. And now I feel like I'm one of those people who's going to try and give predictions without really being qualified to do so. But um, I have seen a shift back to budgets on content production this
Mhm.
spring and spring and summer, or especially summer. While in the winter of this year, people were cutting budgets because they thought AI could just do it. And then they tried and it didn't quite work. They found out they needed a combination of human and AI, and then the budgets came back. And I've seen the same in companies that create visual assets, even in gaming. I have a friend who runs a 30-person company where he used to be the lead artist for concept art, and now he hires concept artists, and they use AI heavily, but it's also a heavy combination of human and AI. It's more of a process improvement. It doesn't do the whole thing because it wasn't good enough. Um, I'll stop talking now. I think I've said what I could.
Yeah, nice, awesome. Yeah, valuable. I agree. I like it. I like it. And you remind me one little man, my son, when I usually tell him, please check on Google, and he opens TikTok and search for information on TikTok. He doesn't use Google at all, but
Not at all.
he, yeah, he uses TikTok, only TikTok. He loves TikTok and find information, as you mentioned, and youngsters, new generations, yeah, they will jump to video formats. So we need to consider these formats as well, because it's trending. And Branko, I still have one question. I want to ask you because you mentioned about that. It's important for my audience, for me myself, to know about keyword research. You mentioned that most content. No, I don't know about most, but let's call the trend to search for topics, not keywords, because topics can consist of many keywords. But today, keyword research tools are still so popular. Ahrefs, Moz, SEMrush, Serenken, I don't know, Ubersuggest, name them. A lot of great tools. We have content optimization tools like Surfer SEO, Phrase, many great optimization tools that can help to find keywords to add in your content, like in old school. And yeah, these tools are popular. And what do you think when we get this switch from keywords to topics? Because it's interesting. In 2021, someone from Pink, I don't remember the name, told that keyword research will be obsolete in 2021. John Mueller denied. John Mueller replied to this tweet that we still have a room for keyword research. But in 2023, John Mueller himself said the same, that keyword research is obsolete and Google can recognize user intent of your content, and you need to pay attention to share value. Google teaches many years, since 2000, to create content for human being, and but it's popular. Can you tell, do we need to use keyword research, how to use it right? And I like you that you mentioned you don't touch topics if you can't bring something new, so for example, if you write about GA4, if you feel that existing content is great, why you need to think about this topic? At least if you can share something about other features, different way, something new. But let us know about your methods to find these topics, or keyword research, or combination, anything about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I do think keywords are going to live. I don't use them as heavily anymore, but it's more that we're using them differently. It's not like we're not using them. And I love using keyword research and just typing things into Google to see what keywords are coming up as a way to research the market. I can read people's minds about what words they use and how they express things. It's a pretty fun language exercise as well. Like, how do they say this? When they're looking for this, how do they say it? Or are they actually looking for this? Um, then, there's been a switch from keywords to topics, but also to search intent. And so let's say somebody types amplitude versus mix panel, two product analytics tools, right? The intent can be vastly different, and we mainly optimize for intent in the in the content brief templates that I give my team. I made it more prominent. uh, Actually, the most prominent thing right now is the intent, and then still the words, because I mean, it's funny when someone says keywords are not going to be important, because that's like if somebody was saying words are not going to be important, and then what do we have left? Like, do we just draw images to each other? Like, uh, no, I mean, keywords are just words. They're not something extraordinary. They're not specific to SEO. We just put a term on it, but it's words, it's sentences, and of course, you should never think about individual keywords and keyword stuffing. But that's basic, right? It's not like John Mueller needs to tell me. So I'm thinking they also, Bing and Google often make claims that steer the community towards how they want us to make websites, and they don't want us to over optimize for SEO. It's terrible for everyone, and even people who are not SEOs can tell that it feels weird reading an article when there's all these extra words and extra sections that they don't need, and those articles can have low performance because people feel like skipping sections, and maybe they even bounce. And um, and then going back to the example of mixed panel versus amplitude, is the intent that they just want to purchase one of the tools? Is it that they already have the tools, and they are trying to figure out how to use them together? Is it that they just want to be able to use them better, so they're looking for a use case walkthrough? Um, do they just want to know the cost difference? Like, what they're actually trying to accomplish? What is their intent or intention? Um, and optimizing for that is really the focus, but then you use keywords to help you. Like, I even think about how Google and Bing have, especially Google, have made claims about backlinks. They're always very, very blurry about that, because they don't want people to just buy backlinks. They want people to primarily make great content and websites that are fast and that have a very clear, easy to understand structure. So because that's more about the experience of the person coming to Google and clicking on something, and is also consistent with what gives a good experience to people clicking on an ad. So they say that, but I mean, mm, companies that sell backlinks are doing really well today. And when you think about authoritativeness and establishing you as an entity, and Google has been talking a lot about entities. If you want to be an expert with a blog about, I don't know, dog food, I don't know, I just thought of that. Uh, you want to have other websites linking to you. Uh, it just it just needs to be better links than before. And I think that's the same as with keywords, right? It's not like it stopped working. You just need to do it better. You need to do it different. And maybe there's a new angle, such as entities and intent, which is not even that new. You just put more focus in it. Um, and I think when you mention the tools, I think the content optimization tools are more important today, because they are better about the intent, and so they're more important for the finished product. But then the keyword research tools, like you're mentioning, Ahrefs, SEMrush, SE ranking, Ubersuggest, I think you shouldn't really be starting a content plan without those. And I I find myself being I'm getting so much help from SEMrush and Ahrefs that I actually end up using them a lot, even though it's a different workflow.
Yeah, nice. Branko, it's a big pleasure to get on my show. I love this experience. Thanks a lot for your time, for sharing all these valuable bombs.
Yeah,
Uh, it's great to learn from you. Tell the best way how to keep learning from you, how to reach out to you, how to follow you.
yeah, yeah. It's on LinkedIn for sure. Look at Branko Kral on LinkedIn. that's where I'm the most active. That's where I prefer, and we can take
Mhm.
it from there.
Nice, nice. Guys, you can find the link account in the LinkedIn to LinkedIn in the description below. Listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again, Branko. A big pleasure. I
Good.
recommend to anyone to follow Branko on LinkedIn because I follow. I know it's valuable. And you need to do it as well if you want to become a great marketer. Okay, guys, love you. See you.
See ya. Bye bye. Thank you.